probably don't understand why I would say it's good, but I'll give you a preview. It's good because I'm very good at reframing reality. I'm very good at adapting to the scenario. I'm very good at taking advantage of whatever opportunities there are. So we'll get to that later in the video, but let's start with this whole thing, dude. Let's start with the biggest scam in American history. That's what I'm saying. This is easily, but if what I'm going to show you and what I'm about to present is actually true, then it's definitely the biggest scam in American history. So put your tinfoil hat on, because this one's about to, I'm probably going to take it farther than other people have taken it. I'm sure you've heard about all this stuff, right? You've heard, oh yeah, of course, Gary Gensler is connected to Sam Bankman-Fried. Obviously, like, of course. This guy who's been basically suppressing the crypto market since December 2020 with the whole XRP thing, this is still that. This whole thing is happening. So, of course, right? Gensler and Bankman-Fried are connected. Oh, of course. You probably saw all this, right? Gensler runs to the media while blah, blah, blah. Okay, legal loopholes. Okay, so Gensler is trying to basically, I don't know, make it so that FTX can do all the things that the other exchanges can't do, right? You know, this kind of stuff. So why would he do that? Why is FTX special? Well, probably because Sam Bankman-Fried is just a dummy, right? He's just a figurehead. He's not a real person. They're ruining this guy's life. Now we can see that they're ruining this guy's life. I mean, he probably deserves to have his life ruined to some extent. I mean, that's harsh to say, but if he didn't see what was going on, then, you know, I mean, hey, that's reality, right? So yeah, well, they want to just ruin him, right? And obviously all this stuff, right? The MIT, you know, Glenn Ellison. Caroline Ellison is, you know, basically the CEO of Alameda Research. Alameda Research was the company that was basically taking all of the customer funds from FTX and then reinvesting them. So, right. So, wow. Scam. I think this is probably, there's more to unfold with this Alameda Research thing, and I'll show you why in a second. But basically, you know, FTX, very, very tied to the FCC. Gensler is basically at the center of all this. He's been at the center of all of the price suppression that's happened in the crypto market, probably as early as Mt. Gox, right? So, okay, with all of that kind of established, and I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you any of this stuff, this is where I think it gets into the biggest scam in American history type stuff, right? So this is interesting, right? Ukraine partners with FTX. When did this article come out? March 14th. Now, on my channel, I have not talked about many of the conspiracies that I think are occurring because I know they're actually very personal to a lot of people. Like, a lot of people have personal, you know, they feel personally invested, emotionally invested in what's going on with Ukraine. Same thing applies to the vaccine. If I haven't been clear about it, I obviously didn't get the vaccine, and now it's clear why, right? It's pretty obvious that that's a part of another, let's call it a, you know, for lack of a better term, a depopulation agenda. You know, there's a lot of this stuff. So I haven't talked about a lot of my suspicions, right? And so I never talked about the fact that I think this whole thing with Ukraine is so sketchy, right? It's just sketchy. It's just like we're supposed to get on board with the government sending literally billions, as much money as they possibly can over to Ukraine, considering all the issues we have in our country. You know what I mean? Like, blah, blah, that's basic level stuff. I don't need to get too far into it. But now it's starting to make sense what was really going on with Ukraine. So let's just talk some numbers here, right? So Ukraine partners with FTX, you know, see, Aid for Ukraine, which was, you know, it has the backing of FTX, blah, blah, blah. Here we go. So the country basically raised $48 million in crypto, right? So people use FTX, you know, mostly Americans, mostly people in the West, right? People donated money to Ukraine through FTX to a number, at least as far as March 22 goes, about 48 million. So here's where it goes a little bit deeper. This is where it gets interesting to me, right? So Sam Bankman-Fried spent $69 million on the 2022 midterms, right? The election that just happened, right? So he donated this amount of money, right? Now, where do you think he got his money, right? I mean, FTX, right? Like, he's the CEO of FTX. So I'm speculating that this $69 million may be at least somehow connected to this 48 million. Okay. See where I'm going with this now? And then, of course, the implication runs a lot deeper because there's been a whole lot more than just, 69 million sent to Ukraine. It's well into the billions, well into, almost maybe 100 billion. We don't even know how much money has been sent to Ukraine at this point. But what we do know is that FTX was essentially set up by Washington, D.C., right? Sam Bankman-Fried is, I'm sure you've seen he was the second biggest donor to Joe Biden's campaign, right? And that was in 2020. And then he literally donates $69 million to the midterm election, on the Democrat side. So clearly, FTX is all up in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. essentially, I would speculate, probably funded FTX and set it up and probably just put, Sam Bankman-Fried just as the CEO, and he didn't realize that the reason they made him the CEO is because they're eventually going to destroy FTX. And why would they destroy FTX? Well, because that scares everybody out of crypto, right? This is the whole point. This is the power of cryptocurrency. These regulators are so afraid of cryptocurrency that they go to these extreme lengths to wreck the market, and they just leave, human collateral in their wake, like it's nothing, and it speaks to the whole concept of, advertising and things like this, because right when all this is happening, right, FTX is literally plastered all over the World Series, right? It's like the biggest advertiser in the World Series. Also, Tom Brady endorsed FTX. I mean, they were in the spotlight, right? So right when they're in the spotlight, all of this bad stuff happens, right? So this is clearly like, let's scare everyone to death out of crypto once again. It's Mount Gox level type stuff. Like, this is the deep state attacking crypto because they know it can and will eventually subvert the monetary system as we know it. Now, to add insult to injury, and this is where, this actually makes me sad, like legitimately sad, is the stock market. Look at this freaking thing, man. This thing is moving. This thing is taking off. Now, obviously we could probably expect a pullback, right? Who knows? But the point is the stock market has clearly turned bullish, right? It's turned freaking bullish, right? You can see it on the S&P 500. You can see it on the NASDAQ. You can see this double bottom taking shape, right? You can see the strength coming out of this double bottom. And the DXY, man. Shit, man. This thing falls through 2 out of 3 moving averages like a speeding bullet on the most bearish weekly candle we've ever seen. And this weekly candle happens right when all this FTX stuff comes out. So what I'm speculating here is that this was a timed attack on the crypto market. I've said many times that Congress is bullish on the stock market. They're holding stocks. That's why they haven't banned themselves from the stock market, because they know this thing's going up. They know the DXY is going to collapse. So I'm here thinking, yeah, I know the DXY is going to collapse too. I know the stock market's going to rise too. And because of what's happened historically, I ventured to think that crypto would also move up with the stock market. And that still may happen. I'm not ruling that out. I'm not selling crypto. Don't get me wrong. I'm prepared to hold. Like, this is now, this just took on a new timeline for me, the way that my brain is organizing it. And if crypto decides to pop up and rip to the upside, great, because I didn't sell. I'm still long on crypto. You better believe I'm still long on crypto. I'm in it for the long haul. And this type of stuff that happens where the regulators come and attack crypto or set up this whole thing, right? Because to be fair, it was CZ, Binance, right? The owner of Binance ultimately exposed this whole thing, right? Because, the thing is, I think what happened with Binance is that CZ, Binance owner, was like, okay, yeah, I will, consider basically absorbing FTX for his own basically greedy purposes. I mean, to be fair, right? It looked like because he wanted to take out his competition that he might have absorbed FTX, and that would have been great for FTX holders in the short term. But guess what? Who's holding crypto on FTX? Nobody that I know. I don't know a single person who holds cryptocurrency on FTX. Like, I literally don't. I think the only people who hold cryptocurrency on FTX are like school board pension funds, bureaucrats, people who believe the lies of the Democrats, to be fair, and I'm saying their biggest lie of all time is this Ukraine scam where they literally are just using Ukraine as a way to launder money that they then give back to themselves for their midterm elections and for everything else, right? Because there's almost, like I said, 100 billion or something. Who knows how much money they've sent to Ukraine. And now we at least should be suspicious that a lot of that money is being sent right back to the United States, right back into their pockets. That's at the very least what the FTX connection to Ukraine has to show you. It has to show you that, first of all, if we know that FTX is a government operation, Ukraine partners with FTX, Ukraine is taking donations through FTX of about 48 million at the same time that the owner of FTX is donating 69 million to the Democrats' midterm election campaign. Oh, and then here's what's funny. Here's what's actually worth checking out here. I didn't actually say this yet, but this thing, Everstake, this staking platform, Everstake. Oh, this is what's fun, right? Just go down the rabbit hole. What is Everstake? Well, let's go and just take a look. Well, it's this Everstake here. It's just this, aid for Ukraine, total funds raised over 70 million. Like, those numbers are just too close for comfort is what I'm saying here. So anyway, we definitely know that there is an attack on the crypto space. There's huge, money laundering operations going on through an entire country right here. This is huge, right? This is nasty, nasty stuff. But it does speak to basically the level of threat that the powers that be feel under right now. And the thing is they don't have any support. They don't have any real support. That's why they're laundering money. That's why they're creating scams. They don't have support of the people. And so what am I implying? Yeah, if I haven't lost you yet, I am implying that, the midterm election is probably not a legitimate election. Probably wasn't, right? I mean, why would it be? Why would it be a legitimate election, all things considered, right? Why would we trust these people who have lied to us since 2020 with just, I mean, come on. I don't need to list all the lies, right? But why would we trust this election if now I'm uncovering this whole thing about Ukraine and how Ukraine, which has been like their favorite, one-liner, like, donate to Ukraine. They got two one-liners. Get your booster and donate to Ukraine. That's it. That's literally all they're talking about. And now we know that all that money has gone right back to them. It's just insane. And so the thing is, back to the CZ thing, right? So CZ exposed, exposed FTX. Maybe CZ was going to absorb FTX. Maybe he was going to take out one of his competitors. Great for him. Ultimately bad for crypto, because that would really centralize crypto. It wouldn't be good. So it's short-term pain for FTX users, but, nobody we know, no normal people use FTX. In the comments, tell me, do you know anyone who uses FTX? I sure as hell don't. So if CZ had bailed out FTX, right, then, that would have saved, I guess, whoever uses FTX, the politicians, Tom Brady, it would have saved all these billionaire people, Kevin O'Leary, like all these people who use FTX, right? It would have saved them a lot. But I think CZ saw it. He really literally saw it. He was like, okay, he's thinking he smells blood in the water, right? He's a shark. He's a whale, really, but he smells blood in the water, and he's thinking okay, perfect. I'm going to take out FTX, I'm going to absorb them, and I'm going to be even richer. And then he looks, behind the scenes, and he realizes okay, wait, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not getting involved in this, right? And so what did he see? He probably saw, the whole Alameda research thing. He saw that FTX was taking customer funds and just doing whatever the hell they wanted with them, really. And he probably also saw this big full circle, money laundering loop that was the U.S. to Ukraine via FTX, and then right back to the U.S., right back to the politicians who started the whole initiative of donating as much money as humanly possible to Ukraine, right? So CZ was like, nah, I'm out. And that's good. Like I said, that's good. I'm glad that, at least there's hope of crypto remaining decentralized, right? Because FTX it's out of the picture, right? I mean, no one's going to trust it again. I think the politicians and bureaucrats who set up this whole Ponzi scheme, I think they failed, just like they failed at the other scams that they've been pulling the past 2 years. But I think they failed at this one. And CZ ultimately, he just called it out, and now they have to face the reality of it. So what does it mean for us? It potentially means, well, it means one of two things. It means potentially extended pain for crypto, and that's fine, because now we know that crypto is going to rise. Like, it's going to be the phoenix from the ashes. I mean, no question. There wouldn't be so much regulatory attack on the crypto market if it wasn't going to rise to, ungodly levels and literally subvert the monetary system, obviously. But I do think that the thing that we should be concerned about in the short term is the fact that this whole FTX thing, as it unraveled here, it's basically a situation where now you're going to have people like Kevin O'Leary and all these rich people, Tom Brady, these people, they're now going to call for aggressive regulation in the crypto market. And what do we know from history? Regulation doesn't protect the people. It protects the criminals, right? And now we know that the politicians are the criminals, right? So that's not great, but this is why you got to hold crypto in a wallet that only you have the keys to, right? I mean, so that's important here. Theoretically, regulators can't really do anything about it if you are holding your crypto in your own wallet that only you have the keys to. I mean, it's almost like a situation where it's just like, if regulation is coming to the space here, and not the good kind of regulation, the bad kind of regulation, then it's kind of like we're sitting in this opportune moment to literally get our crypto off exchanges, put them in wallets, and just hold them. Just hold that, and like however long it takes, 10 years. Who knows? Who freaking knows? But if you believe in crypto, then this is a time to aggressively accumulate whatever that looks like to you. Get cash, buy crypto, be committed, right? So let's talk about some ways you can get cash here. Let's talk about, the optimistic sort of outlook in this whole nightmarish situation here. So let's just say crypto is going to continue to fall lower. Let's just say that. But the stock market, just a few different ways to look at this. It's possible that crypto is going to drag the stock market down with it, right? That's one way of looking at it, especially considering everything I've said about the NASDAQ. I've said that the NASDAQ tech companies, they are invested in crypto. Tesla is invested in crypto. Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, they are invested in the crypto market. So you could speculate that if crypto is going down, stock market's going down with it. You could also speculate that if the stock market is going up, then crypto is going to have a miraculous recovery. And this FTX thing was sort of like your final capitulation flash crash situation. And I'm definitely not ruling that out, which is why I'm not selling anything. If anything, I'm taking a few stabs here and there at these prices, but I'm more just, I'm hedging against time is what I'm doing. I'm prepared to wait for this to play out, because this could take, a long time, many, many years it could take. But in the meantime, well, Congress is getting what they want, right? They're getting the bullish stock market. And I would speculate that, the stock market may continue to new all-time highs while crypto just basically does nothing, because that ultimately makes crypto look worse. The regulators get what they want. Everyone capitulates even worse on crypto, and where they put their money, they put it in the stock market, right? So that's something I would consider happening, especially when I look at this, this DXY, which is, it's now clearly, this was probably a topping structure. Maybe we see another aggressive run to the upside. That's actually possible, because that would cause a massive capitulation event in the stock market. And part of the reason why I wouldn't rule that out is because of what the VIX is doing, right? Like the VIX it's at the bottom of my range that I've been tracking for a while. I do think the VIX is due for a move to the upside, which would mean that the DXY will also move to the upside, and that will mean that the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, and the S&P 500 will probably retreat to the downside, potentially even setting another low. So that's something I consider. So what am I doing, in the short term here? Well, on Friday, I was actually selling stocks. That's what I was doing. I was selling stocks on Friday because I think this pump is starting to get a little euphoric, and I think the VIX is uncomfortably low. I think it's due for an upswing here. I think the dollar is due to probably retrace the upside to some extent. So what am I doing? I'm selling some stocks. I'm starting to take profits on this move that happened here. And what am I doing with those profits? Well, I'm inverting them, right? You put them into the VIX. That's what you do, right? This is the short-term strategy that I don't really talk too much about because, as far as crypto goes, I'm not much of a crypto trader. I'm just a committed buyer is what I am, right? And I just see the long-term opportunity. But in the stock market, I take my profits and I invert them, which means I put them into inverse, instruments like the VIX. The VIX goes up when the stock market goes down. So what I'm saying is that I think it's possible the stock market might be making a move potentially to the downside over the next couple weeks, which would sink crypto, way, way deeper, right? Because now you're getting the negative divergence. I was talking so much about the positive divergence, but, well, guess what? That divergence has now turned negative. Now crypto is moving down while the stock market moves up. I still need to consider that the stock market is going to get pulled down in the short term. There's a lot of reasons why that is likely to happen, but ultimately I do think the stock market is probably going to rip and roar probably to new all-time highs and just add that, that additional pain for the crypto holders who, like me, who I've been thinking this whole time. I'm like, well, if the stock market is going to move to new all-time highs potentially, that's going to be hugely positive for crypto. Well, guess what? It doesn't necessarily look like that's going to happen, but that doesn't mean I'm capitulating. That just means I'm reassessing the situation and I'm prepared to hold crypto a lot longer. And I'm also hedging against time by selling stocks at these pretty euphoric levels, I would say. I think a lot of people were pretty euphoric. It had a lot to do with the CPI print, right? CPI print. So inflation comes in lower, right? And I'm like highly suspicious of that because I'm watching gas prices all month. I'm like, okay, gas prices are just ticking up, ticking up, ticking up. And when the inflation number came in low, then I started noticing, oh, whoa, did gas prices just like suddenly fall? Which doesn't make sense, right? Because the inflation number is a lagging number. So what's going on here, man? There's like a lot of weird stuff going on. But I do think in general, the bull market sort of is returning here, and it's right on schedule, but it's not playing out in the crypto market, and that's intentional. That's because of what just happened. That's because of this whole exposure of FTX, this whole exposure of a Ponzi scheme within the crypto space. And I just don't think many people will go deep enough in their own personal research to realize that the FTX collapse was it was a nightmare waiting to happen that the regulators set up. Like Gary Gensler literally set up this Ponzi scheme through Sam Bankman-Fried. And Gary Gensler's just thinking, oh, it's going to be great. Like we're going to, crush FTX and everyone will be scared out of crypto. And we'll do exactly what we did to XRP back in December 2020, but we'll do it with an entire crypto exchange, the quote-unquote biggest crypto exchange in the United States, scare the living shit out of everyone, and then, they get what they want, right? So I don't think anyone's going to realize that this was like a regulatory, the regulators caused this, right? That's what no one's going to really put together. And obviously no one's going to put together, the Ukraine stuff, I don't think, right? Because to me, that's like... Man, people are too emotionally invested in some of this stuff to really look at the honest truth of what's going on here. So I'm being defensive in the stock market here because I think you need to be. It's too crazy not to be defensive, not to be taking your profits, not to be, I guess, playing both sides of this volatile market, right? I mean, this is a volatile market. Look at these swings, man. Like this is intense volatility. It's like compared to everything that's happened since March 2020, it's like, whoa, this just got, crazy looking in here. But back to the bullish divergence, I mean, you really do have the setup of sort of like a volcano erupting here in the stock market. I think that's probably going to happen, but not before you have some pullbacks. I think there could even still be potentially one more low to set up a triple divergence in the stock market. That would make a lot of sense. That would spike the VIX. I think that's probably still going to happen because I think like the fear of crypto will actually translate to fear in the stock market as well. That will set up a massive spike in the VIX. So Yeah, I'm prepared for that. I'm definitely loading up on some VIX. There's so many inverse, ETFs that you can use to make money as the market goes down. It's really, really simple. So you look at like TZA, which is just another inverse ETF, right? So this thing moves down when the IWM moves up, right? So to me, I'm thinking like, ooh, is this like a buying opportunity in this inverse ETF, considering what the IWM is doing? Small cap index here, right? IWM, coming right up against the old 200-day moving average here, right? So in the past, that was a reversal point. I think we could be potentially looking at a reversal point here in the stock market because, IWM, traditionally a leading indicator of what's going on. You're coming up against major resistance on this moving average. So what do I do? How do I play that? Well, there's a number of these, like I said, a number of these inverse ETFs, and that is basically what I loaded up on. You load up on VIX, you load up on the inverse ETFs, and you take the upside, and you just play reversion to the mean. That's what this is. These games are reversion to the mean games. The mean are the moving average. Look at this convergence on the moving average. I mean, right here, price reacted very strongly. Like that's the simple way to play this. And maybe in future White Knuckles, I'm going to get more technical on you guys and talk about how I do actual technical trading. It's honestly really simple. Like the Fibonacci stuff is more for like a long term. Like these are long term price projections on Fibonacci, but of course you can use them in the short term. But generally short term trading is just reversion to the mean. When something gets way, way, way off of the moving average, that's when you act, right? It's exactly what we're seeing on the DXY. DXY is just heading to the moving average. That's all that's going on here. So anyway, man, yeah, that's probably all I got for this video. It's some crazy, crazy, psychotic, eclipse energy. Like this stuff is nuts, right? So I hope you guys are hanging in there. I hope you can stay positive. I hope you can see the opportunity and tune in next week. Continue to tune in because I will tell you about my more technical strategies about how to navigate the volatility in these markets. But the simple thing you need to understand is I'm not trading the crypto market. I'm just committed to the crypto market. I will buy all the way to zero. That's what I'm going to do. That's my strategy. That hedges me for upside exposure in all markets, right? That's my upside exposure. But I'm just more defensive in the stock market, right? I'm considering that maybe the stock market is going to have another major crash here. So I'm taking profits. I'm prepared to buy, at a lower level. But I'm hedged because if crypto somehow, I don't know, if it recovers, right? I don't know. Doesn't look too good on the 4-hour chart at this point. But if it suddenly, recovers, well, guess what? I'm still exposed. If it doesn't recover and it sinks lower, well, that's fine. I'm still buying, and I'm not going to be afraid to buy because I really do believe that this whole event, this whole regulatory attack, this whole scam, this FTX scam, Ponzi scheme, Bernie Madoff level shit. This is really actually just, it's a sign that crypto is going to be a very, very powerful force in the future. So there's really no reason not to just be committed, right? And we're talking about huge gains here. We're not talking about 50% moves. We're not talking about 100% moves. We're talking about, in some cases, 100x moves. So yeah, you want to be prepared to buy all the way to zero in crypto, and you don't necessarily want to be trading this thing. Stock market, more tradable. There's more tradable instruments. You can trade the stock market easier because there's literally there's less fees. There's plenty of inverse instruments. You can trade both sides of the market very, very easily. Crypto is harder to trade both sides of the market. There's more fees for shorting. It's not as easy. So I'm gonna stay a permabull on crypto, and I'm gonna be taking my profits in the stock market, and I'm probably gonna make decent money on the volatility to come here in the stock market, and all that money ultimately will be put into my long-term savings, which is my personal cryptocurrency wallet. So that's what I got for you. Good, dude. Check out this track.